If you're my class, I'm your teacher, and I say this to you, what would you do? Class, could you open your books, to page 27? Okay, page 27? What's going to happen? Well, the two overachievers in the front row, page 27. Everyone else, we don't really know, right? Much more likely the response we're going over here. Okay, class, let's open our books to page 27. Much more likely to get those responses that we want. And there's no difference in the words that I'm using, but there's some invisible quality that permeates not just those moments in the classroom when we give directions, but every moment we are on campus. On one side is our level of inner apology, and the other side is our level of inner authority. And I'll give you an example. There are some excellent classroom managers out there who don't necessarily know how they do it. Now, you might be one of them. Excellent managers don't always know how they do it. It just kind of works. I call these teachers steeped in inner authority. Not in a mean sense of the word, but in the sense that we are authors of what happens in the classroom. And so, let's say that I'm struggling, and I turn to one of these teachers who's steeped in inner authority, and I say, I got this third grader, or this kid in third period who's driving me nuts. What would you do? This teacher says, well, my students know I will just not tolerate that kind of behavior. My response, I don't tolerate it either, but they still do it, right? So how do we exercise this muscle of inner authority? How do we move in that direction? Because it makes such a difference. And so, a couple other things. It's not just that beginners are here and veterans are here. It's often the opposite. And we jump back and forth all the time. Secondary teachers know this really well. Let's say you teach the same thing, second, third, and fourth period, every year, okay? And one day, in second period, you're trying something new and experimental. So you're over here, class, we're going to try something kind of new. It's kind of going to go like this, okay? Right? Well, by fourth period, you've got it down. You're over here, class, we're trying something new. You're going to love it. It goes like this. And you wonder why every year your fourth period class is better than your second period class, right? Because of what you bring to the mix. So how do we exercise this muscle? Well, I've come up with 7 different approaches. Each approach has within it some strategies. So we'll look at these now. The first 3 are rather abstract, and the next are more concrete. I'll reveal them all to you now, and I'll talk about them. You get a chance to write them down. The first one, experience. Just having a chance to practice holding our ground with kids can make a big difference. Now, no guarantees about this, but it can make a big difference. And that's the one that most people jump on, experience. The second one, also abstract but very powerful, is reflection. Ask yourself after a particular incident in the classroom, where was I on this continuum from inner apology to inner authority? Just asking the question consistently will tend to slingshot us forward. Makes a huge difference. Whether it was a positive or negative experience in the classroom, doesn't matter. Just consistently asking. This is something I now do all the time when I'm in front of people, whether it's kids or adults. It's a constant feedback loop for myself. Example, the other day I did a workshop. About 250, 300 people in the room, full day in classroom management. I started off the workshop with 5 very funny jokes. Nobody laughed. Not one person laughed. I mean, these are objectively funny. I know it's true because it says so on the internet. Okay, it must be true. Right? Nobody laughed. And I found myself internally slinking into inner apology. Nobody laughed. I'm bad. But then I reflected and recovered because I remembered in my heart, I know I'm funny. So, reflection can make a huge difference in every aspect of the classroom. So, highly recommend this. And when I work with mentors, support providers, with teachers, they often will adopt this common language, and it just makes the conversation much richer because there's a way of relating to what's happening in the classroom. The third one, also abstract but with concrete applications, is assume the best. Assume the best about students. And specifically that they want to learn behavior. That students want to learn behavior. Now we'll get into details about that later this morning. That's kind of a little hint as to what it'll be. That they want to learn behavior. Now the next one, the rest of them are concrete. And the number one way to exercise the muscle of inner authority is teaching procedures. Now why is that? What do kids say every time they walk in the classroom? What are we going to do today? What are we doing today? What are we doing, right? Well, what we do is a procedure. And so the kids will give us their overt permission for us to be authoritative when we teach procedures. There's very little fight from them We're resistant when we teach procedures. It can be like this, not like this, because they won't know what to do. They'll resist us more with content than with procedures. So we can take advantage of that and really exercise that muscle. And we'll spend a good chunk of time today focusing on procedures and very detailed procedures, things you can take with you right away on Monday and use with your students. A close second to that, and a subset of procedures, is consistency. Let me say it again. Is consistency. Is consistency. Did you get it? Is, never mind. Okay, you got it. So we'll focus on that as well this morning. And then positive connections, because when kids are connected positively to their teacher and to the classroom environment, management is much easier. Misbehavior just goes down and learning goes up. Everything on this list that I've said so far is prevention. What we do before kids act out. A lot of teachers come to my workshops looking for an exotic new consequence. Right? Johnny won't sit in his seat. Do you have a Velcro suit that I could use? Right? I love that image. Velcro suit, Johnny, never mind. The truth is that 90% or more of effective classroom management is what we do before kids act out. So the vast majority of focus today will be on prevention strategies. And some of you this morning, before we started, came up and gave me scenarios. What about this? What about that? And really, honestly, because so much of it is about prevention, let's look at what we do before those fires start. How do we stop the fires from happening before we have to put them out? And that's what these first 6 are about, prevention strategies. Now, as I share these strategies, you might have in your mind a yeah, but. Yeah, Rick, but what if the kid doesn't do what I ask, right? Well, each strategy that I'll share is like a thread. One thread does not make a cloth, but you start taking these threads together, and pretty soon you're reducing the acting out dramatically. Let's say you've got 17 kids bouncing off the wall in one of your classes, in your class. Now we get it down to 4 or 5. So we start reducing with these strategies. Ultimately, if prevention strategies don't work, then we get to intervention, known as consequences. We'll put some focus on that today. But the vast majority of that focus will be what to do when consequences don't work. Because they don't always work, do they? And so we'll look at strategies for that. And I call those, it's almost prevention after the fact. For the next time. So it's almost all prevention. What to do after the fact. So that's the basic focus.